ladies and gentlemen of Puerto Rico, Latin America, the United States, whoever is watching, welcome to Puseo TV's podcast. I haven't done this in a couple of weeks. Probando Fuerza Live, and it's an honor for me. I've been working to be able to have this for a long time. We haven't been able to hook up and do this. But ladies and gentlemen, the greatest arm wrestler of all time. He's better at arm wrestling than Michael Jordan has ever been at basketball. And I don't think anyone could match or will match everything he has done for the sport and for the lives he has touched. Ladies and gentlemen, Manolo Sánchez, la cara del pulseo en Puerto Rico y Latinoamérica, it's proudly presenting to you Latin America, Mr. John Brzenk.
Thank you. That's quite the introduction. Your name was Manuel or
Manolo. It's kind
Manolo.
of
Manolo.
Yeah, Manolo.
Manolo. Okay. Well, it's a pleasure. Glad to be here.
Yeah, it's an honor for me having you on my show. I've had a lot of people on my show, but to me, this is, I think, the highest peak of the show I've ever reached, because the point of this channel when I opened it and I started doing things for the arm wrestling community in Puerto Rico and Latin America was to showcase Puerto Rico to the world. And you guys being on this show has helped us a lot. And really, I wanted to say a personal note before we start. This is a very personal note, but I have to say it. I talked to Paul Lim once, and because I said I wanted to tell you this myself, but I couldn't reach you, and he told me that he was going to help me do it on one of your East versus West tournaments, but he couldn't get to you because he left earlier. But 14 years ago, my daughter was born, and she was born really premature. She was only 24 weeks old, and she was really premature. She weighed 1 pound, and she could fit in the palm of my hand. And I remember I was really depressed. I had to leave my family in San Juan, which is like 3 hours away from where I live, so the baby could be at the hospital for 3 months. And I drove back to Puerto Rico really depressed and sad because of what's going on. And I think at that time the Pulling John documentary hadn't been out yet. And I remember there was a web page and all that in the internet about the documentary. And what kept me going, like what kept my mood up, was watching your videos, man. Watching you go against all odds, against guys way bigger, 3 times, 2 times, 4 times bigger than you, and beating them. I remember I just watched those matches all night, and you kept me going in that rough time. And I want to thank you. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for you being you and doing what you do. Because you drove me through a really bad time in my life, and I want to thank you.
Well, yeah, thanks to the Pulling John crew. Yeah, that's I appreciate that. Nice story. It's been my life. It's not been really that difficult. I've enjoyed every minute of it. So yeah, I'm glad I could inspire some people.
Yeah, and you have inspired and touched a lot of lives in the world. Not just all arm wrestlers, because like I said, you always competed going against all odds, and you always came on top most of the time. And even if when you didn't, you just kept your head up and kept going, and then come back stronger.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. So John,
how was the arm wrestling in Puerto Rico? What's the situation for arm wrestling? I haven't really been keeping track. I know that Devin went and visited, and it looked like it was a pretty strong group a few months ago.
Yeah. Actually, in Puerto Rico, arm wrestling has been around since the 70s.
Oh, wow.
There was a big tournament in Puerto Rico called Puseo Medalla, and it was like the Yukon Jack of Puerto Rico. They made regional championships, and then at the end of the year, they held national championship, all weight categories. But you know how things are. Things, corruption. Think that people were handling the money the wrong way,
Right.
and that tournament went from like late 70s all the way through the 80s and early 90s, and it ended. Like the promoter pulled the money, and there was no more Puso Medalla, and it was started to to die down. And on those last few years of the tournament, I was starting at 16 years old, and I remember I became national champion when I was 18 or 17, and that was like the last tournament of it. So I like to call myself the last of the old champions because I'm 42 now. So
Did somebody pick up the pieces eventually, or?
yeah, not really, not really. A couple of guys from that era tried to kept it going for a couple of years, but it didn't come to pass. And back in, I think it was 2010, 2009, 12, I met a guy from the north side of the island called Joe Cortez. He's Hola Alejandro, that's my son. He's in the chat. And he started arm wrestling. He's still really good. He's still really good. And since he took it up, it has had its ups and downs. And then in 2018, I decided to quit arm wrestling and dedicate myself to this, making this platform, Pulseo TV, because Pulseo is what we call arm wrestling in Puerto Rico, and try to show. The first idea was to show to the Puerto Rican people that there were still arm wrestlers in the island, and the sport was still going. And it grew, and it kept growing, and I break the barriers from Puerto Rico, and I started getting to know people from Latin America, Guido de Honduras, Juan Carlos Gaya from Mexico, Kevin, Colombia, Luis Maldonado, Charles de Peru, Elmo de Peru, and I started connecting with all these other countries around the Caribbean and Puerto Rico, and then one thing, I started trying to reach out to Puerto Ricans that were in the United States arm wrestling, like Noel Nunez, Dan Denial Schwartz, Arturo Pizarro, which are in different areas of the United States. They're Las Vegas, Florida, New York. We got Richard Calero in Ohio. And I started trying to connect with everybody. And that one thing came to another. And I crossed the ocean and I met Brazil, who lives in Dubai, and he's from Ukraine. And we started a great friendship and relationship through social media. And he started helping this platform. We started doing interviews and podcasts. That's how this got started, because of Brazil. And I had a lot of people. I had Devin. I had even Engin. I had almost all the Russians. I had it on the show. And right now, the scene in Puerto Rico is growing because of the efforts this platform has made. And the reason I brought Devin to Puerto Rico was because I met Devin a long time ago, like in 2008, and we were talking, and we sort of lose contact, and we have always talked about of him coming to Puerto Rico. And by the end of last year, I started having some really bad health issues, and I said, okay, if this is gonna be it, I'm gonna do everything I wanted to do before it ends. Okay. So that's why I brought Devin to Puerto Rico. What?
I said Devin was on your bucket list to get him out, get him down.
Yeah, Devin, you are on my bucket list. Okay. Like you're like the number, like up there. So I brought Devin to Puerto Rico to get the eyes of the world to Puerto Rico, and I achieved it. I've earned the respect and the love of the international arm wrestling community. I have a really good relationship with Engin, with even Matt Rhodes from King of the Table, Adam Silver. I got a good relationship with everybody, and I'm just trying to. This is not just for Puerto Rico right now. I'm trying to elevate arm wrestling in Latin America. and that's like the main thing right now. And yeah, we got a lot of talent in Latin America and Puerto Rico. Yeah, we got a lot of talent.
Good. Well, good for you. Thank you for that. As an arm wrestling participant fan.
Yeah, it was a long story. I made it short.
Good.
So, John, I don't know if anyone has asked you this before. Many of us have been long enough in the sport to know, but how did you start arm wrestling for the younger generation that's watching? How did you start arm wrestling in the sport?
Well, before the professional aspect of it, organized arm wrestling, I was like any other kid. I arm wrestled in grade school, in junior high, a little bit in high school. So that's really my beginning roots. Before I knew about arm wrestling, tables and organized arm wrestling, I did it like any other kid. So, but luckily enough, it evolved for me because my dad got introduced to it when I was about 13 or 14. So I started going with him to small tournaments, local tournaments, and he ended up buying a table and understanding and learning and going to small events to better himself. And as a kid, I would just tag along, and so I was brought up into the organized aspect of it at a really early age.
So you jump right into the phase where arm wrestling was already organized and making tournaments and stuff.
Yeah, we had 2 or 3 different promoters in the Chicago area. I lived outside of Chicago in a small town, not too far from that area, and yeah, there was always something going on. And typically, it would be in a bar, but even at the young age of 14, 15. As long as I was with my dad, they were allowing me into the bar, and yeah, so yeah, I got my experience kind of at the local level, so to speak, for a couple years, and I ended up actually hurting my arm at a really early age. At about 13 years old, I ended up cracking my elbow from the pressure of arm wrestling, which luckily enough, I was young enough that it healed back extremely strong, very stable elbow now. But yeah, so early ages.
How did the injury happen in a tournament?
It wasn't actually a tournament. I had some soreness, so I knew something was going on, or something was wrong from the training and just participating. But it was actually just a friend of my dad's that came to. My dad owned a bowling alley at the time, and we had an arm wrestling table in the bar of the bowling alley. And he was a flyweight champion, and my dad was, like to, brag about, me being pretty darn good for a young kid. And I ended up just actually arm wrestling this flyweight. Wasn't anything serious, hard. We were just kind of playing around, almost like a workout, and just the forearm muscles basically detached that bone on the inside of my arm. It cracked it away. And I've seen that injury happen many a times to some of the arm wrestlers, kids that are in that age group, 13, 14 years old. So it must be a shift period at that age. It's kind of a dangerous time to be putting a lot of pressure on that inner nerve or inner bone.
Yeah, I had the same injury in my first tournament.
Okay. It actually broken bone, or was it just a tendon?
It was like the bone didn't break. It kind of like cracked.
Okay, that was mine. A lot of kids have had the situation where they've actually required surgery. It's broken enough where it required stabilization of some sort, a screw or this, that, and the other. But mine was just a hairline crack, and 6-8 weeks later out of a cast, and it was as good as new.
I remember I felt it when it happened, because it happened in the semifinals. I went to the final and I lost really quick. And then the next day I tried to go to the gym, and when I picked up something, I was like, oh, and I had to go to the hospital. It took me a year. I remember 1 year to the date I got back to arm wrestling. and that very next year I became national champion, and that was
And
the last
how
year of the
old were
tournament.
you? Were you older or?
I think I was 17 or 18, something like that.
Okay. So I always tell people, yeah, be careful that 13, 14 age group. But if you were 17, yeah, it could happen to anybody, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, and when you were having that workout with that guy, was it in a real table or was it just
It was actually not back then. We initially started wrist wrestling instead of arm wrestling. I don't know if you know what the difference is.
yes, it was the one that you grab the hand and
yeah, grab the hand underneath, so there wasn't the peg off to the side. The donuts or the elbow pads were kind of a horseshoe pad that kind of maintained your arm on the table, so you couldn't really drive your elbow back or lift your elbow off. But it was different. But yeah, no, officially it was a wrist wrestling table that it happened on.
yeah, I actually started with wrist wrestling,
Wrist
but
wrestling.
it was like a really brief time. I started with the wrist wrestling, but I was really little because I started arm wrestling like when I was 13 or 14, and I started to compete at 16. But I remember I got to do the wrist wrestling thing.
Right. To be honest, I wish sometimes I wish we had gone back to the wrist wrestling. It was definitely a lot more dramatic. It was much more difficult to pin your opponent than an arm wrestling table because of the constraints of your left arm being tied with underneath underneath the arm with your opponent. But yeah, I mean, especially with the super matches, I think for spectators, for the length, for the battle that normally ensued with wrist wrestling, I think it might be something that we should look back. Arm wrestling is just so quick sometimes, it's so decisive because there's so much freedom in it. But yeah, there were some crazy battles with the old wrist wrestling tables. You had to use your arm.
When people talk to me about wrist wrestling, like in a second, it comes to mind your match with Richard Lucas.
Oh, right. Yeah, that was probably one of the last times they officially had that type of table, because even Petaluma, which was the wrist wrestling capital in the starters on wrist wrestling, end up evolving into an arm wrestling table. But yeah, so that was probably one of the last tournaments where you saw that official wrist wrestling table. Yeah. And it saved me with Richard. Yeah. If that was an arm wrestling table at that particular time in my career, he probably would have had the strength to kind of throw me across the table. But because of the wrist wrestling and the styles and the little bit of the gamesmanship that provided, I was able to stop the match, and it helped me.
Yeah, I wanna give some attention to the chat. We got Christopher Peran. He's a Pan American Championship in Costa Rica. He's saying he's very excited to see you on the channel. Victor De Leon, a Puerto Rican that lives in Florida, it's saying hi to you, that they're fans, your fans, and you are an inspiration. My son, it's telling that he's watching us, Alejandro, and Guido Quiroz, the president of the Honduras Association of Arm Wrestling, is saying hi to you.
Pleasure.
From Honduras.
Pleasure.
So, John, have you ever heard the thing when people say that basketball, it's different? Like Michael Jordan, like they say, like Michael Jordan was tougher than LeBron because there were different eras of the sport, and that before it was rougher.
Right.
Have you heard of that before?
Of course, yeah. People always try to compare eras.
Okay, my question to you is, back then, how would you compare the new era with that era, that part when you started, and because there's different type of arm wrestling right now that it was before. Yeah. Would you consider that before it was tougher than now?
We had the freaks back 20, 30 years ago when I first started. There was a handful of guys that I think could be just as competitive now as they were back 20, 30 years ago. The thing is, today's arm wrestling is so much deeper. There's 100 guys now that are contending for the heavyweights. Where back then you had your alpha males that were the arm wrestlers that walked around, and most people didn't reach their level and didn't bother to really be competitive because they were so dominant. today it's so much more exciting. There's so much more depth, and it's so much more competitive. There's so many guys that are extremely close, and are dedicated to the sport. I mean, we were definitely weekend warriors back 20, 30 years ago. There just wasn't a whole lot going on. You know, occasional tournaments here and there, but nobody really put the kind of effort that people are putting into it now.
Yeah, I say that today's arm wrestling is deeper, and the rules are like it makes it more difficult for the athlete, but it's not as tough as before, because at least when I started, that it wasn't this set of rules. Like you had to go, like it was a match, and a lot of things that would have been fouls or match stop today would have, that they kept it going, you know.
Oh, right, yeah.
And to me, it was a tougher era at the beginning than now, but it's harder to arm wrestle today because of the rules.
Yeah.
You know, it's harder to get the win.
And people have excelled. It's a different group that are excelling in the sport now, because I mean, I can't even remember the last time we had an open tournament. Well, we did just recently have an open tournament here in Arizona, but I mean, 90% of the tournaments, rightly so, are super matches. So one against one other, and, you know, 6 matches. So there's definitely a big endurance factor that's been thrown in the sport. Back when I was, super active back 20, 30 years ago, it was an open tournament. So much more time to rest. It was more of an explosive person's sport, not so much. You didn't have to be in such fantastic shape to last 4, 5, 6 rounds. So that aspect has changed a little bit with the invention of the super matches.
Do you prefer the open tournament to the super match thing?
It suits me better, just because I've always been, well, in the younger years anyway, I consider myself more of an explosive arm wrestler that would get matches over with quickly. So yeah, the endurance aspect was never really there. It was always nice to be able to hit hard. If you get in a tough match, be able to go sit down and rest for 20 minutes, 30 minutes before you got called up again for the next round. It was a little easier to navigate, especially with the experience that I had knowing the field to navigate it maybe a little easier than everybody else could or would, versus a super match. I mean, you're at the mercy of just the one guy. So it's just different.
To me, I prefer the tournament, because when you are going to the super match, you have the chance, your opponent, you can prepare. In the tournament, you got to prepare for everything and anything.
Right.
For everyone.
So I think the experience plays a little bit better for the guy that has more experience, arm wrestling different types of arms, and of course, like I said, being explosive helps. These guys that are endurance pullers that get into these long, crazy endurance matches in an open tournament are at a big disadvantage when it comes to round 2, round 3, round 4, because the explosive guys are getting it over with quick and getting a chance to sit, and are much fresher than the guys that you have to fight every match. But it is what it is. I like that that it's evolved to the super matches. I think it's a lot easier to promote. I think people get more, spectator wise, people are much more interested in seeing these 2 guys match up versus not knowing who's going to show up in an open event. It's really hard to promote an open event.
Yeah. When Devin was here, I did the national championship, and what I did was make like kind of a hybrid between the two. I made a regular tournament, but all the matches were super matches, 2 out of 3, and the last match, the finals was a super match, 3 out of 5, and it went. I think I'm the first one that have done that in the world, and it was great. It was great, very interesting.
Makes for a long day, but it's exciting. Yeah, if you don't have too many competitors, that works out great.
Actually, it was like I had like 8 guys that signed up, because it was an open tournament. It wasn't about weight classes. We wanted to determine who was like the absolute championship, whatever weight.
Right.
and ended up being great because the super match thing ended up being the equalizer between the bigger and smaller guys, and it was a great tournament.
Yeah, no, kind of like Neil's battleground, where you
Yeah.
still knew the 8 guys, or 6, 8, 10, 12 guys, so you kind of had an idea who was going to be going against who. So yeah, good to promote.
Yeah. I'm gonna jump a little further into the future because I don't want to forget about this. In the Pulling John documentary, all led up to the final match between you and Alexei.
They tried to make
And
it.
I saw that match. What?
They tried to make it that way. They tried to, hopefully they were crossing their fingers that would be kind of the storyline for it, but nothing was said. I mean, we didn't rehearse anything or
Yeah, but it ended up being great because that's what it looks like, that it ended up between your match.
Yeah. My match was one of many in the open division. I mean, to be quite honest with myself,
that wasn't the finals, right?
No. I think Alexei actually pulled a guy named Matt Girdner for the finals. I think Travis popped him. Travis pulled him way better than I did that particular time, that day. So yeah, but anyway.
But I wanted to ask you, because this has been in my head for years. You found a lane. You felt like you could beat him, or how was that? Because at the end, you felt like you made a mistake.
No, I was just, actually, that was a little bit showmanship. Alexei was way stronger than I was that day. His hand and wrist, his strengths were my strengths, and he was 50, 60, 70 pounds heavier. He was going to dominate me that day, and I really had no experience to really even go into the match thinking that, okay, this is what's going to work out the best against him. I went up and did my best move, what I continue to do throughout my life, and he just outmatched me. I mean, his ability in the direction that my ability was just stronger, better. Did I get away from him without the strap? Yeah. Was I any good at arm wrestling the strap? No. I probably, retrospect, I probably should have tried to maybe hook him, but I wasn't really that great of an arm wrestler on a hook at that particular time. So yeah.
So having said that, and asked about that, your match that is coming up with Alexei pretty soon.
Yeah.
How are you feeling? Do you have any expectation?
I don't know still don't know what to expect. He's been gone for so long. He's got incredible potential. Obviously, he is probably one of the best to ever do it. Is he the very best to ever do it? Probably not. Just watching some of the footage of him, he's going to be tough. I am going to come in tougher than I was when I pulled him in 2002 or whatever year it was for that Zloty tournament. I weighed 95 kilos then. I'm walking around now at 230, 235. So I'm bigger. I'm maybe not as healthy, as crisp, as fast. But my strap game's better, and I think that will somewhat negate his hand strength. If I can get that same slip and get in the straps, I think my strap game is much better. My endurance probably isn't at his level, even though I feel like that mentally will be how the match will go and possibly end. A little bit of a chess play, and hopefully I can outmaneuver him. I'm going to need to have some kind of advantage to probably outlast him. He's still 10, 15 years younger than me, so he's probably going to have the endurance edge on me.
It's like 41 now.
Yeah, but I'm super excited just because when we pulled last, I was just a shell of what I could have and should have been at that particular moment in time. So I'm excited to show up a little bigger, a little stronger, and we'll see. Hopefully I can make it a much better match than. But if he's coming in fully prepared, I know he's probably been back in the sport maybe a year. Who knows what he's been doing before he officially said he was going to get back in the sport. I could definitely tell that he's not the slim, trim businessman politician that he was just even a year ago. His upper arms are getting bigger. His forearm is getting bigger. So I think
he has gained weight like quick.
Yeah, I think he's going to be very strong. He's going to be very ready. And I'm excited for him. But I am excited to see if I can do anything or surprise him. I would love to see him continue with the sport and actually get to a point where, I mean, I think he's got the potential if he really pushes it, to go against the big guys. I mean, I know we got some big monsters now, but yeah, it would be exciting to see.
Yeah, I've always thought about whatever would have happened if he would have stayed in the sport, because he was like a phenom,
Yeah.
And maybe if he's just 40, 41 years old. Some people say that's like the prime age for being an arm wrestler. Maybe people are talking about Dennis beating Lovan, but who knows? Maybe Alexia is the guy who's going to get him in a couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't know quite. I know maybe little bits and pieces that he wasn't, immune to injuries. I think he had some elbow injuries, some tendon injuries. So he was getting beat up a little bit. So yeah, who knows? I mean, who knows if he would have stuck with the sport? But I think he probably made the right choice doing the Olympic thing with the bobsledding. That's that was bigger, high profile thing. And
yeah. And I've
I mean,
always said
all the things to make a great arm wrestler. He was not only big and strong, but he had that super fast twitch ability. So that combination is power. And
he was really quick. And I always say that's the one that got away. You only had that one match with him, and you've never touched hand with him after that, right? You've never touched hand with him.
I was actually at a tournament that he arm wrestled Michael Todd. And I ended up pulling Jan and Chescu, and I think it was in Romania. So, but
that's when Michael Todd pulled him.
Yeah, we pulled a little bit on the side because he was giving me some advice with Jan and saying, "Why didn't you do this or do that?" And he was kind of toying with me and lifting me all over the place. I'm like, "Okay, Alexi." So I'm glad I didn't have to pull him even that day. Here again, I think I had to make the weight class at 95 kilos. So I was starving myself to make the weight for my match with Jan. But yeah, when he's ready, he's going to be tough to beat. Whether or not he can beat some of the big monsters now that we have in the sport, I mean, is another question, but he'll definitely be competitive.
Yeah. Well, all I'm going to say is I'm going to be very, very nervous, and I'm going to be jumping around in my seat because I want to see that fire, because you got to get this one. I'm praying and hoping that you can win this match, because I want to see you beat him.
Yeah. I would like to stop him. Hopefully I know what to expect. I kind of have a good feeling of his strengths, and my approach will be better this time. Whether or not I can do anything and maybe pull a little Tim Brzenk on him, but that's going to be what it takes. I'm going to need to stop it. I feel like I'll probably be in an awkward position, but if I can just maintain my hand and wrist in pronation and lock it out a little bit, hopefully those big muscles will pump themselves up, and we can get on a little playing field.
And there's always the rust factor.
What's that?
There's always the rust factor, because he hasn't been actively competing for a long time.
Yeah, no, he's pulling with a very skilled, tough group right now. He's in the Russian camp with 3 or 4 or 5 really good arm wrestlers. So I think he's going to be sharp as it gets. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm going to be jumping around, and I'm going to be doing the Dragon Ball Z thing, giving you my energy right there. Whatever I have left, I'm going to send it to you that day, because I want to see you win. I want to see that fire, that thing. I want to see you win that match, man.
All right. I'll do my best. I'm showing up
Yeah.
to do my best. I'm not being lazy about it or thinking, oh, this is just, I'm just going to, to go through the motions. I really want to show him something. So I'm going in as best I can, as best prepared as I can be.
Yeah, and I'll be praying. We got Joe Acosta from Mexico. He's saying hi to you. You're his hero. And we got Lahia. John Brzenk is easily in the top 20 greatest of all time. No, John Brzenk is the greatest of all time, period. That's it. Carlos Casanova, a guy from Venezuela that lives in Puerto Rico, is watching us. So, John, after talking about the Voivoda thing, are you really thinking about retiring after this match?
I struggle with the way I feel, especially in training. I still love arm wrestling and participating, going to the tournaments, and I can normally get myself into a situation, or I can somewhat fight through it come tournament time. The difficult thing that I always question is the training. The guys come over on Saturday and I start pulling, and even if I take a week off, I'm still achy and the shoulders popping, and it's straining, and I'm feeling all the little aches and pains of an older guy. So it's it's very frustrating, and it makes me think, okay, this isn't working out. I mean, no matter how much or what I do, I'm still subject to that. So it's always on my mind, like, why am I continuing to do it? But my answer is I love it. I still like it. It's just frustrating that I can't do it at the very highest level, the level that I'm used to, and put the kind of effort that I used to be able to put into it. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, I keep saying that I need to tone it down a little bit and really lower my expectations. But hell, they keep asking me to pull Saplinka off and I can't say no to it. I mean, it's like, yeah, no, for sure, I would love to, pull those guys again. I mean, it's for old times.
Yeah.
But,
and you're still showing up. Yeah, like you said, you're still showing up, and that like there's got to be a John Brzenk in arm wrestling, and when you came back and you started your comeback a while back with the Chance Cho match, like that was what brought the boom. Like, arm wrestling was coming strong out of COVID. Like, COVID was good to arm wrestling, and then when you came back, it started. It was the moment. And look where we are now. We're really close to the Olympics, and all the promotions are working and are doing great. We can always do better, but they are doing great. And it was like that moment on, when you had the match with Chance Shaw, everything just clicked and started working. And I hope and I pray to God to have John Brzenk for a long time in arm wrestling, because we love you, John. We love you.
I appreciate it.
I love you.
I'm going to be around doing some in some form. I'm not much of a commentator, so I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'll be the guy with the ice and the sidelines, a coach.
That would be a scary guy if you were the coach of someone. That would be a scary guy.
We need a seniors league. Maybe next year I'll talk to Devin. We'll try to start up a 60 and over, or 55 and over. 55 is probably too young.
Yeah.
There's a lot of us out there.
Yeah, and to tell you the truth, in the United States, the top guys are the older guys.
The older guys.
There's not a big scene of young, strong arm wrestlers. I mean, we got Artem Taranenko. He's strong. He's young. We got Adam Wosinski. We got Robbie Russell. Noel Nunez. But yeah, Noel is 30. They're young, but they're just not that many. They're still the older guys are the ones that are the bigger numbers.
Yeah, more hardened. The hardened tendons, they take years. I mean, it's not something that you can jump into right away unless you're like my situation. I was arm wrestling at 12, 13 years old. So the progression is definitely a lot quicker if you can get your kids to do it at a super young age. But Yeah, it's arm wrestling is not an easy thing to get strong for. I mean, it takes time for those tendons and ligaments, and you have to be patient. And so, yeah, it's not a surprise to me that some of the better guys are still in their 40s and 50s.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it is like they started at an older age, like Paul Lynn started at 35. Uh, Todd Hutchins started
Yeah,
at 35.
40,
You know,
yeah.
they didn't start young.
Yeah.
And talking about Todd Hutchins, how do you feel about Todd?
It's going to be a tough match. I mean, I'm a little worried for myself. Yeah, Todd will probably be a tougher match. I feel like he's as tough, if maybe not tougher, than my match with Alexi. At least everybody knows how good Todd is. I mean, Alexi's kind of a no-win situation for me, but Todd is top level. Since his bicep injury, he's really been unstoppable, other than a few super heavyweights. Yeah, no, I worked out with him for 4 or 5 years, so I know exactly how dangerously strong he is. And I'm just hoping that he doesn't thrash me. Be quite honest. I feel like the embarrassing thing will be for me if I can still get his hand and wrist and he just doesn't even care and just drills me sideways to the table. That will be hard to swallow, but I feel that like it's a possibility. So I'm going to be as hyped up as I can possibly be, because it's a mental thing for me at this point in my life. I mean, it's back in the younger years, I could walk up to the table and just be like, and just solid and crisp and hard. Now, if I walk up to the table, not really super focused, those aches and pains will get to me, and my body will shut down and say, "Oh no, that hurts. Let that go." Yeah. So I need to be super well mentally prepared for Todd, for the pressure that I know is coming. And if I can do that and stop the match and I mean, I don't have the greatest endurance, so I shouldn't say that I'm hoping for a long drawn out match, but I think the aches and pains personally, the aches and pains will go away if I get a little bit of a pump. So if I can somehow put him at a disadvantage to make the match last a little longer, I'll feel more comfortable and more safe to possibly win that series. But he's going to be tough. He's going to be tough, but I'm excited. I'm excited for him. I'm excited to arm wrestle him again, just because, we've got such a long history. I mean, especially working out like we did in Utah, and then when he was in
who had the last win over who?
I think we actually, believe it or not, I think we actually split it. I mean, I think it was a Las Vegas event. He won the first one. I think I won the second one, and then the third one was controversial. He won elbow fouled. I won. I don't remember exactly how it went, but in my mind, it was like that could have went either way, and we were so close. So
and that was the last time you pulled, right?
I think that's the last time we pulled. Yeah, for sure.
And that was like 15, 20 years ago, right?
I think it's 17, 18 years ago. Yeah. Yeah, Las Vegas. I think 05 or 06. So yeah, probably 18 years ago, 17, 18 years ago.
Yeah. And the thing about Todd is I love the way he trains. I love the way he trains because he's more so like intense. My size.
Yeah, he's so intense. He's so intense, and he's got such crazy endurance. He's very similar to, I think, Devin, and his work ethic and his ability to be able to train like just 2 days before an event, or just be able to beat his arm down day after day after day and actually make gains and feel stronger. I kind of kidded around. I since Devin's made such great gains here in the last year or so, I thought, okay, quit being such a wuss and start training every single day. At least get the blood flow going and do some work on the machine outside of the arm wrestling, and put a little bit more effort into this. And it hasn't been working out really good for me. And many would say, "Oh, you just need to push through it." Well, believe me, I've tried to push through it, and I slowly am sliding and going, "Oh, this is just a recipe for big time injury now." So I need
And
more.
I know what's like, because I like the way Todd trains, and I try to mimic it, but
Yeah.
it's really painful. And
Yes.
he has perfected it because he has been doing it for such a long time. But I
Right.
know, Todd, if you're watching, I know there is pain involved in what you do,
Right.
because that way of training is gotta hurt, you know. And sometimes when you see his training videos, he will go like,
Yeah.
and I know it hurts because I've done it.
Right.
So
Right.
I think that's the edge he has. Like, his training is so painful that it doesn't hurt at all when he competes at the table. That's my theory.
Right. Yeah. And thinking back, I mean, back when I was initially starting the sport, I went to the East Coast for about 5-6 months because I wanted to train with who I thought was the greatest arm wrestler on the planet, Dave Patton, for and see what he did for training. And we would pull almost every single day for the longest time, and work for a buddy's tree company, hauling logs and trees. And so I can remember many mornings hanging my arm out the window and just having it toothache throb. But yeah, I mean, we survived it, and I got, I think, stronger from it. The 5 or 6 months that I stayed there, I became quite a bit better. So it does work. I just don't see it working at this point in my life. But maybe I'm not giving it enough time. I don't know, but I don't have the time to give it because I have got these super matches coming up. So I can't be showing up to the super
Yeah.
matches crippled.
Yeah. Actually, that's my only critic for the arm wrestling scene today, is that there are so many super matches and events one after the other that the progression of the
Yeah.
arm wrestlers is low. I mean, the only one I've seen progress is Hermes and Devin. That's it. The
Yeah.
other guys are like backed up, or are at the same level. You know,
Right.
they need to be further away. You know, so
Yeah.
people
Well,
can take
the
gains.
problem is you're trying to prepare for the next super match, so it really gives you a couple of weeks, 3 weeks, maybe a month, couple months of training. But then you got to be very careful about the amount of rest to be at your very best. So you can't really ever explore the kind of stuff that we're talking about Hutchins and Devin, where they're just killing it. They don't care. It's just they don't really have anything coming up for another 5-6 months, a year, maybe out. So they can really test areas that be walking around just at 50-60% because they're so broke down. If you got matches coming up, you owe it to yourself to try to prepare yourself to be the best you could be for that match. And normally that requires some prep and some rest. And so yeah, it's a balancing.
Yeah. But we gotta ask. I gotta ask. Kirildagi Ungurbayev.
Excuse me?
Kirildagi Ungurbayev. You want another crack at it, right?
Oh, an amazing arm wrestler. I can't say enough good things about that kid. Yeah, super impressive. Yeah, and I would, if offered, and I think England will offer it to me, even if I get beat by both Hutchins and Alexi, I would love to pull him again, just because I was just maybe a little under the weather when we pulled last. And I feel like, I think I was close enough that maybe with a little tweak here or there, or a little bit, change in my game plan, that I possibly have a chance. It's a slight chance, but I feel like I have a chance, and I would love to maybe give it another go. So maybe that'll be
that first round. That first round was beautiful.
Yeah, no, yeah, very, very, very psyched up, excited, didn't know what to expect. Adrenaline was going, and everything worked out really good. Yeah, but all it takes in a super match is to let down just a little bit, get out of position. Maybe it was my fault. Maybe it was just him being excellent and making the proper adjustments, switching tables, all the little factors that go in. And it just completely changed the trajectory of the outcome. So
yeah, and people have talked about it like rumors and stuff, but the truth is, in those super matches around the Ungurbayev one and before and after, you were like sick, right? Like with the cold and stuff, right?
I had RSV in like July, August, and then I ended up getting official COVID a week before Christmas. So yeah, there's been a couple matches where I've been not walking around with the healthiest set of lungs or head.
Yeah, but to just show up feeling like that, it's amazing, man.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm not going to use it as an excuse because I mean, even if you feel a little like off, I think the tendons are still there, and sometimes I feel like it's good to be maybe even a little bit not so revved up and so aggressive. In certain aspects, it ends up working out okay, but yeah, I would like another go at definitely Ungerbayev. That would be
We
my
would
wish.
love to see that. We would love to see that. And even me being crazy and me being such a groupie and such a fan, maybe you get motivated or something happened and you get to have a match with LeBron and beat him. That would be like I could.
Now you're talking. Now you're talking crazy. You know, if somebody's got a screw loose or two if they're actually offering me a
Yeah.
match with Levon, which if they did, I would probably say, hell, why not?
Yes.
Yes, I'll do it. For sure, I'll do it. Just to grip up and say that, yeah, look at that, look at I'm such an idiot. Look at I'm trying to arm wrestle this mountain. Yeah.
But now with the scene that it is today, you know what happened with LeBron and Devin, and you've seen how Devin has changed. Like he's not the same man. He's not the same man.
Nope.
And you saw Hermes, what he did to LeBron.
Right.
How do you see this playing out at the end? Do you think Hermes is gonna end up facing Devin for another crack at LeBron? And who do you see taking down LeBron? Because to me, either LeBron is gonna get beaten either by Hermes or Devin.
Yeah, I mean, there's still a possibility. We got to find out. We got to iron out the Jerry Caderet style against Levon. Also, I mean, we're going to here shortly find out if Hermes can get through that craziness that Jerry brings to the table. So there's a lot of unanswered questions. Some of these guys out there that just have weird styles enough that could pose a problem for Levon. But yeah, I mean, I think we're going to definitely have to see Devin and Hermes, no matter what the outcome is of Hermes and Caderet. I think Hermes is a dangerous opponent for Devin, even with Devin as strong as he is right now in the endurance that he has. An explosive guy like Hermes could possibly, if done to perfection, pin Devin quickly. So yeah. Yeah, there probably needs to be some matches before the guy gets another shot, whoever it is, with Levon. But yeah, there's 3 or 4 guys that I look at and think, yeah, Levon, yeah, definitely was exposed a little bit by Hermes. So I think there's a handful of guys out there now that are like new excitement. Like, no, I think I can get him. I think he's not so far out of reach. I mean, there's some light there.
Yeah, I used to think like 5 months back. I said after Devin's match, I said the only one that's gonna beat LeBron is high cholesterol and high blood pressure.
Right.
But now, things has getting close between those guys, and what Hermes did.
Yeah, and look at what Morozov did to Corey West. I mean, in some of the training footage that I've seen him with, wow, that, I mean, he's 26, 27. He's got way bigger frame, and he's packing on the muscle to be maybe, negate all that size that Levon typically has on his opponent. So yeah, there's some monsters out there.
Yeah. And Guido, my friend from Honduras, he pointed out to me that Levon's injury in his right wrist is the same one he has on his left, and he couldn't come back from that injury in his left arm.
Right.
I was thinking, okay, if Levon can't recover and be to the same level he was, who would like squeezing into number one. You know, we still, I think we still have, like we just talked about, Jerry, Devin, Hermes, or Morozov.
Right. Gennadi's still in the mix. That's why I say the arm wrestling is so deep right now that if we really look at it really close, there's probably 10, 12 guys that could take the top spot. If you had an open tournament, I mean, there's a handful of Russians that we're not even thinking about that, you know, could feasibly be in that mix. But yeah.
That if you were in your prime right now, if you were in your prime, would you beat Hermes?
Beat
Like
Hermes?
Prime John, would
No,
you?
I
Do you
don't
think
know.
you could beat
I think
Hermes?
No, I don't. Hermes has gotten too big, too strong, too fast, got all the tools. I think I could have beat the Hermes that was 3 years ago at 220, 230 okay. In my prime. I think I would have gave him a good run. I think we were on probably an equal playing field, but he's gotten to the point where, he's in the monster realm now of big super heavyweights, which I was never willing to do. So, I mean, it's, I like to compete against those guys, but I never had the motivation, the desire to be walking around 270, 280, 300. I mean, it's just not.
And to me, your best shape ever, like your ideal weight at your strongest was like 220, 225, right?
Probably 225, 230. I've gotten as heavy as 240 and 250, but I don't think I was as prepared and as healthy as I thought maybe I was. I mean, I had a difficult time tying my shoes. So looking back, I think, no, I can't get that heavy without feeling just.
Yeah. Now, going back in time, I want to ask you that when the King's Move showed up and screwed arm wrestling, no one could beat it. And then you met at the UAL event. I think it was the UAL 11 event. It was called. You showed up and you went to the finals with Michael Todd, and you easily beat his King's Move. But that match had some drama. There was some drama in that tournament. Right?
To tell the full story, it's so there was 3. Well, I shouldn't say that, because there was more than just 3 guys there that could have won it that day. Richard Lupke's was there. Myself, there was actually a handful of guys that were pretty tough in that class, but as it turned out, both Jerry and I wanted badly to beat Michael, to kick him off that high horse he was on, and we kind of somewhat teamed up against the organization that was seemingly giving Michael the good draw. So we teamed up together and said, hey, we're not going to fight each other. We're going to, I'm going to take a loss. I take a loss, or you take a loss, but we're not going to fight. And then you're going to take your first shot, or I'm going to take a first shot at him, and then we will go take a second shot at him. So he was kind of at a disadvantage because it was 2 against 1, so to speak. But it was even difficult, even with the help of Jerry wearing him down like he did, to beat that King's Move. It's especially difficult for me just because I'm not a good shoulder roller. I'm not. It's not something I train for. I don't normally ever do it. It's always been kind of awkward, and especially with the shoulder now, it's just really just feels like it could go wrong. But that's kind of what it seems like it takes. And it was super close. I mean, maybe it looked easy, but it wasn't.
What were you thinking?
I was thinking,
what was your plan? Like, you say, okay, I'm in the final with Todd. This is what I'm going to do. Yeah, no,
I just went up with my normal self and just thought my hand strength will be enough to keep his palm upright, and I'll be able to, use my strength because my hand will be strong enough. But I quickly realized that his back pressure and the way he was pulling was compromising my hand. I mean, it was fatiguing. Even though I had great position, it was very difficult to put the kind of side pressure you want in a hard hit to the side, because he was putting so much pressure on the hand. Actually, I think the match ended with me kind of doing a shoulder roll. My wrist finally kind of fatigued and flattened out as I was going through and pinning him. But I think if it affected his confidence a little bit, that he didn't think he was going to be able to do that again. And which made it nice because
He
maybe
pinned himself.
he would have, if he would have stuck with it, he probably would have maybe possibly even beat me that day. But he felt like he was going to try to surprise me and out shoulder roll me and go inside, which I was like, oh yeah, this is way easier. So,
And he
but
actually pinned himself, like reaching for a
yeah,
position.
he was
Pinned
trying to get
himself.
behind his arm, and as he was trying to get behind his arm, he was dipping a little bit dangerously close to the pinning pad, and on the referee call. And I know that was another contention of like, oh, I wasn't pinned. No. Okay, well, I'm not doing the referee, and somebody else seen it, and
Yeah, I saw a lot of angles of that video, and yeah, he pinned himself
yeah,
by just rocking back and forth. He pinned himself.
he was just trying to. He was just trying to
I
get
don't think
behind
he
him.
would have beaten you, but he pinned himself.
No, I was feeling, well, he would have said differently, but I was in a pretty comfortable position. I wasn't going anywhere from that position.
Yeah. And you're really good at that constant pressure and just sticking to that.
Yeah.
You're really good at it. So he wasn't going to gain anything out of it.
But who knows?
Yeah, who knows? But I will say this only one match I hate that you had.
Okay.
One match. It was the Arsen Liliev match, and it's because that where your shoulder just got hurt so bad that you had to have surgery, and from then on, you were a different guy.
The time frame through there is a little blurry for me. I don't remember. I went through a couple issues. I actually had back surgery, which kind of messed me up for a year or two, about 2 or 3 years before my shoulder surgery. And I don't remember exactly the date of my Arsen match. I was very strong and very well prepared for that.
It was 2008. 2008.
Yeah, no, but I felt good against Arsen. We were level playing.
And I thought you won. That last match was like, I don't know. I thought you won.
Yeah, no, it was close. It could have went either way. I had my mindset was I wanted to do this and I wanted to do that, and I wanted to try to hook his top roll, which maybe wasn't right, but I had my own personal reasons for doing what I was doing. There wasn't a lot at stake. It wasn't like I was going to win or lose a semi truck. If I maybe my approach would have been different with Arsen if that was the case, but Ingen paid me one way or the other just to show up to arm wrestle.
Yeah.
I did my best, and I arm wrestle the way I wanted to arm wrestle. So it really wasn't so important that I won, in the rounds, but how I won. And it was enjoyable. I mean, we were very close, and it was hard fought, and Arsen's an incredible arm wrestler, and I hope he makes another guy. I just hope makes a comeback. I mean, dangerous for a lot of people.
Engin has been talking about it, about a comeback, and I bet that he would say, John, would you want to super match with Arsen?
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, there's a lot of great matches for me out there. If guys like Taras and Arsen, I mean, the list goes on.
That infamous match.
Those guys come back like Samarenko, and I can think of a ton of arm wrestlers that could be legacy type matches that people might get excited about watching again.
Yeah, that infamous match with Taras Ivakin that you held him just in a centimeter from the pad, and you just brought him back. That's a highlight for the sport forever and ever.
Yeah, he was an incredible top roller.
Yeah, and that match with Arsen was like the kind of the beginning of Engin being a promoter, and now we're all the way here to East versus West. How do you see the future of the promotions that are out now? Do you see these going for 10, 12, 20 years?
I don't see why not. Engin's got the mental capacity and the energy and the desire and the love, and he seemingly keeps getting more polished. Things keep getting better. I mean, he's getting people better to do the graphics and everything is improving. And if anybody can do it, I truly, honestly believe Engin's the man to do it. So I expect to see, East versus West right up there with UFC in 10 years. We'll see.
Yeah. That's what I want to see, and I admire Engin for everything that he has done in the sport. And I try to do the same over here in Puerto Rico and Latin America, and that's why I'm trying. Not. I'm a man of my word, and if God gives me health and live a little longer, I will do. I'm trying to put up an event in Latin America, such as East versus West, but for between the Latin
North
America, to
versus
have our own
North versus
spot.
South or something like that, right?
Yeah, we're
South
gonna call
America
it.
versus North
It's in the
America.
back right here. It's right there. You can see the logo. It's called
Okay.
Reyes de America, Kings of America,
Oh, okay,
and
gotcha.
I'm setting it up. And hopefully next year we're gonna have our first event. But it's sort of East versus West kind of thing. And I want to make Mayagüez, Puerto Rico, which is where I live, the Dubai of the Latin America arm wrestling scene.
There
That's
you
what
go.
I don't want to see, the turkey, and I know Engin, if I ask for any advice, he will gladly give it. He's a friend. I love him to death. He's a good guy. We are a lot alike. Like, you don't know how alike I am with Engin. Like, a lot
Are
alike.
you are you are you
And
the encyclopedia of arm wrestling like he is? Do you have that kind of memory
well,
and
yeah, have you
detail?
heard all the questions I've made and everything? Like, the people in the chat are saying that this is the best interview they've seen people done to you because of all the details and the history and the back and forward I've done.
Right. No, you're
Because
very
I
good at
remember
it.
everything, you know. And I'm kind of an encyclopedia of arm wrestling, and I understand what Engin does and how he does it and why he gets mad. I get it, and I support him in everything that he does, because you gotta be there. Like, when he gets mad because of the commentating or the bootleg or the thing with copyrights, I get it, because he puts his heart and soul into an event, and he feels he's getting robbed, you know. And at the end, it's not just that. It's because, like, if you do that and you make money out of that, you're gonna prevent me from making that money to keep this thing going, And I get him, and I remember I used to do the review of the matches. I stopped doing it. And I don't care. I'm not monetized. I don't do this for money. I don't make any kind of money out of this. I when I do my events, it's out of my own pocket. And I don't even charge people to come compete in my events. I just, if you win, here's your money. If I do a super match, I pay you. You're doing me a favor competing in my event. I don't charge anything for anyone to be a part of my events, because this is how I love the sport and this is how it's going to grow. And that's why I understand Engin, and I stand by him, because I've been there, and yeah, he puts everything onto this thing that he's building. And it's finally like it's getting there. It's getting there. People are respecting what he's doing, and the reviews and the commentary are dying down. And at some point, we're gonna get to that UFC spot, and I
Yeah.
believe it.
Yeah.
I believe it.
I think the
And
participation could be better just because everybody can arm wrestle, right? I mean, it takes a special person to find the training camp to become a MMA fighter. That's a special, very special breed. And but anybody can take up arm wrestling. Kids and wherever
at any age.
any age can take up the next day in high school or
Yeah.
Junior high cafeteria
And
table learn arm wrestling.
like, when Devin was in Puerto Rico, he talked to me about an idea he had, and that he wanted to work with me and try and make that a reality. And it was sort of that UFC. I don't want to give any details, because that's his idea and what he's doing. But it's sort of that same UFC thing idea, and getting there. And like you said, anybody can arm wrestle. Like, we got people starting arm wrestling at 40, at 30, at 10, at 12, at 70 years old. Like, the professor, David Shell from New York, Pennsylvania, 98%. He's like 70. He started arm wrestling at 70 years old. Like, everybody can do it at any age. So
Right.
there's a future in the sport if we all together. I visited San Diego a couple of weeks back, and I was with Alan Fisher, and he told me something that it really stuck to me, because it's true. that's the problem with arm wrestlers. They don't want to work with each other, and we got to get over that. And
I disagree with that, though. I mean, I think most arm wrestlers are accommodating to people that want to learn the sport. That's kind of the special thing about arm wrestlers, that they could be your possible future competitor, but they'll bring you in and teach you everything that they know.
Yeah, but he was telling me in the sense that don't be the guy that held back at practice because you want to go and beat your teammate at the tournament. That was what he's saying. Like, you gotta like teach each other and make yourself better.
Yeah,
even if you compete at some certain point in the tournament.
Yeah, of course, that's a very shallow approach, because if you're not giving it your all, you're not benefiting. He's not. Everybody's. You are all going to elevate together, and that definitely has to be there. High.
And that's my philosophy when training. When I practice, right now I don't have anyone to practice. Like, there's the scene in Puerto Rico is really tough, and there's a lot of drama. And when I used to practice with a group, I always like, we have to get to the level of the weakest guy, because we got to get him to our level. And once he's at our level, we all grow and get better together. That was my approach. And nobody gets hurt. But people try to, like, thinking they're going to win the over the top tournament at practice, and in Puerto Rico here, we have guys break the other guy's arm in practice. And that's not healthy, because people get scared and run away from the sport. So anyway, I got one more question, and something I want to talk to you about before I let you go, because I'm taking, I don't know, we're closing to an hour. How do you want to be remembered, John? When you finally say, I'm not going to do this anymore, how do you want to be remembered?
Oh, I don't know. I should think about this question a little bit more, because it's been asking me plenty of times. Maybe I don't want to be remembered. I just want to be forgotten.
You're just like me.
Yeah. Remember,
you don't like the attention.
Yeah, I really don't. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess someone that loved the sport and stuck with it, and I never really. Yeah, I don't have an answer for you. I'm sorry.
Don't worry about it, because at least I know how I'm going to remember you.
Right.
But at some point, like we do, like you do things and I do things, and we don't expect anything back. We do it because we love it, and that's the beauty of it. And that's why you are so great. On top of, you're a great athlete, you're humble, and you're very private. And everybody wants to engage with you in conversation. Like, you post something and you get 1,000 likes in a second, and a lot of comments, but your humility, like, that's what elevated you to your heights. And seeing you keep doing it and keep loving it, it motivates us all, and we love you for that. And I know how I'm going to remember you. And yeah, because I got a shirt, like the first shirt I made for the channel, I got the very first print. I got it, and Devin signed that shirt, and Alan Fisher signed that shirt, and you have to sign that shirt.
That'd be my pleasure.
We've been talking about back and forward, and I want to be really clear on this. I want to be really clear in this, because when Devin was going to come to Puerto Rico, a lot of people was saying that I was lying and that he wasn't going to come. No. I approached John, and we started talking. Maybe if we could reach an agreement so he can visit us here in Puerto Rico. That's right, John?
Yeah, it'd be my pleasure. I mean, I'm very busy this year. I've used up all my holidays and vacation between my past super matches and future super matches. So it's going to have to be the beginning of next year, or next year, or when I eventually, hopefully, retire from my daytime job, so I have a lot more free time to be able to just go. But yeah, no, it would be my pleasure. I definitely see no reason why I will.
Yeah, and if you go to the channel, there's a lot of videos. I documented the visit of Devin, and I made Devin fall in love with Puerto Rico, and that's exactly what I'm going to do with you.
Oh.
So, we're going to keep in touch so we can reach an agreement. We sort of talk about a date next year, not this year, next year. We talked about a date, and I'm going to throw some ideas of what we can do, but I just want to have you over and visit, get to know Puerto Rico, get to know the arm wrestling scene in Puerto Rico, hang out with us a little, and to tell you the truth, even if that can happen, I'm going to visit you because
All right.
that's
Always
my bucket.
welcome.
I'm going to visit you.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just in Vegas. I was just in Vegas a couple of weeks back. I was at Brandon Allen's house.
Okay.
And
Hot.
Sara Latona is in the chat. Hi Sarah, love with you. And Michael Layton is in the chat. He's from Arizona. He was there in Vegas. We had a great practice. I went to Las Vegas, then went to Los Angeles, Anaheim, San Diego, and came back to Las Vegas. I tried to arm wrestle everyone I could.
Right.
So I want to go back to Vegas. So if we can not work something out because you're busy or whatever to bring you to Puerto Rico, I will go to you.
Okay.
I get to Vegas and just drive up to Arizona, and maybe we can hook up, do a practice somewhere or something.
You're very welcome. It's a 5-hour drive from Vegas, or jump on a plane. It's probably 30 minutes, 40 minutes. But
yeah, I'll do the drive. I just take the family, go to
the year is extremely hot as hell. I don't know what it is like in Puerto Rico. You probably have us beat in the humidity area, but we're doing some
it's humid, but it's really hot.
Crazy numbers right now in Phoenix. So stay away if you can.
Yeah, when I was in Vegas, it was like 100 degrees, but in Puerto Rico, when I left, it was 115 but it's so humid that you don't feel like you're in an oven. In Vegas, it was like you were in an oven making bread. You know, it was hard, you know? So, Drew, hi, you're always supporting the channel. Thank you for being here and watching. Zeus from Mexicali. He's Hector. He's a great arm wrestler, strong arm wrestler and promoter from Mexicali, Mexico. Joe Acosta, Sarah is here. Chuck Peterson is here saying hi. A lot of people have seen this. John, I want to thank you for
having me.
Taking the time.
It's been my pleasure. I've truly liked it. It's been great.
Yeah, and hopefully, if we can, if after after the Hutchins and Voivoda match, maybe if you have time, we can do it again to talk about all that. I'm gonna text you I'm gonna message you to Facebook my phone number so you have it. So we can talk about the visit or me going over there or you coming here. And hook up. And I really want to wish you well, wish you healthy, long life, your family, a lot of blessings. I will pray for you. I always pray for all the people I love and I appreciate and admire. But I'm going to pray for you for your victories against Todd and against Voivoda. And I will pray that you are in the sport for a long time because we love you and we need you. And without John Brzenk, there's no arm wrestling.
I appreciate that because I do truly still love the sport, even though I'm running on 6 cylinders anymore. It's still going to be hard to ever leave. It is really a fantastic group of people.
Hector says that there's no place in the world that you have more fans than Mexico. A lot of people live in Mexico. That's why.
Gotcha. Yeah, I see Larry Wheels went down there just recently. Last year, they must have had a big tournament.
It was like 2 weeks ago. They have this tournament day, Mexico versus the United States, and my friend Chris, my friend Brian from Vegas was there. He competed against Hector. And it was a great event, and Larry went down and I think he won the tournament.
Oh, yeah, no, he's getting really good. He's progressed.
I think nobody is arm wrestling more than Larry right now in the world, not even Devin. I think he arm wrestlers like the same all day because his progression has been really fast and really big. Like he's gotten strong. Like I thought I could beat him like a while back, but now I said, oh hell no, I cannot beat Larry now.
Yeah, no,
I thought I could. I mean, maybe in December when I was 300 pounds, I think I could give him a good, give it a good go. But now I'm 200 pounds, and I don't think so.
Yeah,
and I'm trying to make a comeback.
Yeah, he's been a good example for people that, you know, that these strong guys that have a ton of potential, it's still, no matter how big and strong you are, it takes some time and dedication. But if you put the time in, you can progress quickly. Yeah, Larry's a great example.
And right now I'm doing a hybrid of Todd Hutchins style training and Devin style training, because I want to come back. I want to compete again, not in Puerto Rico, in the States, but I want to compete again. And it's been so hard to get back in shape because of all these problems I've been doing. I like 10 years ago, I had surgery. I had a kidney thing done, you know, and it's been, you know, highs and lows, and I'm trying to get back. And now I'm starting to train, and I'm just going to focus myself in arm wrestling and try to practice or do whatever on the table as many days as I can. So maybe I could go to Vegas and arm wrestle some people in Vegas. Right.
No, wish you luck with that. It's you can't look at the week to week or month to month. You just gotta have the, you know, the dedication to and realize that all this hard work that you put in is sometimes not going to show itself until like months down the road or even years down the road. So just stick with it.
Yeah. So John, thank you for spending this time and having this conversation. We love you. I hope to have you back after the matches on the show. I'm going to be praying for you. God bless you, John. We love you, and I'll be praying for you. I'm a God-fearing, believing man, and I pray for my friends, and you are my friend. I will pray for you for your victory.
I appreciate it. Yeah, thank you, and we'll keep in touch.
Yeah, we'll keep in touch. I'll message you my number, and we talk about the thing we gonna do, or even I'm going or you're coming or whatever. Okay.
Sounds good. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good one.
All right. Take care.
Bye.